Well, howdy. We're here in the Burgess Art Gallery at Indian Lake Estates, and I'm going to be talking today about keeping your gear clean and keeping your sensors clean. I'm getting ready to head out to San Diego, and that'll be tomorrow, less than 24 hours. Still have a little bit of packing to do. Anyway, I put this on the blog before, but my cleaning kit consists of a gallon plastic bag with some Q-tips, a clean old cotton t-shirt, a little old $7 paintbrush from your local hardware store, the blower brush, the Giotto's large, the little ones are worthless, and I keep a lens pen in there, and also my lens cleanse. We'll get to that in a minute. That'll be the first item. And it's a good idea to put this in a watertight plastic bag of its own if you keep it in with this stuff, because sometimes on the airline, if you forget to close it tight and you're flying, with the pressure differences, it can leak. And, okay. So first we're going to take a look at the Sony 200 to 600. The front element's super dusty. Just a word on the plate. The right plate for this is the Wimberley P30 mounted with the flange in the back. They have these two little stops, and depending on the lens, you may want to put the flange in the back or in the front. And I'm going to be doing a video, I doubt if I'll get to it before I go away, but certainly by the end of January, on the various plates for different lenses for all the systems. So we have a nice dusty front element. The first thing you want to do is take your soft brush and hold it down to the ground, give it a little brushing. The dust tends to get caught in those threads, so you can point the lens down and flip the brush in there and take a quick visual, and that looks fine. If you feel the need, you can take your lens cleanse and take your not so clean old t-shirt and, oh, this is a brand new one. We use the human pliers. There we go. And you never want to drip this stuff onto the front element of the lens. There's too much chance it could get through the edges and ruin your lens. So you put a good couple of drops onto the cloth, not onto the front of the lens. Hold the lens securely, wipe it around, and then dry it with a dry portion of the cloth. Polish it up nice. Take a look. No nothing. No residue, no little flakes, no dandruff anymore. So we're good to go. You may be wondering where the hood is, because I recommend to folks that they never handle their lens without the hood. You get to a spot, put the hood on, leave it on till you get back. If you're photographing around home, leave it on all the time. But when I travel, as we noted in one of the last videos on air travel, I pack my hoods in my checked bags. So we're done with this. This can go here. The next thing we're going to take a look, get the cap back on. Next thing we want to take a look at is cleaning the sensors. Now there's all sorts of stuff online that if you have if you have a mirrorless digital camera body like the Sony that I've switched completely to, that you absolutely can never change your lens in the field, and you can never change your teleconverter. That's bogus. I mean, I change sometimes 20 times in the morning, adding or subtracting teleconverters. This is the A92. This is the A7R4. Physically, you can tell them by the absence of the second command wheel on the top. This one does. The A7R4 doesn't have one on the left. So first thing we do, just because again I haven't cleaned this stuff in a while, is get rid of the dust. And I'm going to come up to the camera and see if this works. I don't know if it will, but let's see. Yeah, that should work. Sometimes you'll be looking at the image on your back of your camera and it'll disappear and you can't understand why. And it's not because you, I don't think there's anything on here. Yeah, there is. It's not because you put your hand in front of the viewfinder. That's designed so when you put your face to the viewfinder, it turns off. But if you get this tiny little window dirty or dusty or wet in the rain, it will shut off the rear monitor. So you can either remove this, and to get this thing off, you actually move these little clips out. I use 2 fingers to get them out. But most of the time, all it needs is just a nice brushing to keep that little tiny window clean. You can sort of dab it in or out, or if it gets dusty, you can remove it and use the lens cleanse again by placing 1 or 2 drops either on the cloth or using one of your trusty Q-tips. So now we're going to talk more about the sensors on mirrorless cameras especially. Some of the stuff I'll talk about is for Canon and Nikon and all the rest of it, and some is specifically designed to apply to mirrorless. While we're at it, we might as well just remember to clean the viewfinder in that little tiny window here. You can also take the blower brush to blow out the little window. And again, if needed, you can clean it up with some lens cleanse. So the trick with keeping the sensors clean, you don't want to be a slob, change your lenses in a dust storm, but a few simple things. Make sure you keep your back to the wind so the camera is sheltered. Even if you're on a tripod, keep your back to the wind and you can safely take the front covers on and off on the camera without jeopardizing much. Again, in the wind, you might be in a little trouble. You may want to walk to a place where you're in the lead. In any case, there's a great piece in one of the comments by Patrick Sparkman about changing teleconverters, and I'm going to copy that to the blog post when this is published. Anyway, we have the sensor, and one of the neat things that you can do, now for most or all of my Canon and Nikon bodies, I use the Delkin sensor scope. You push the button to turn it on, you go like that, you look in, but for whatever reason, it just does not seem to work well with the Sony sensors that have a lot of color in them. So I do not use the sensor scope here, but what can be great is to take your cell phone. I borrowed Jim's because I'm videoing with mine, and they have these pretty powerful flashlights, and you can actually get a great look at the sensor. Notice I never talk when I have the sensor open because you can get little spittle on the sensor and then you're in trouble. But this is a great alternative for the mirrorless body. So thank you, Jim. So what I do, and that sensor looks perfectly clean. I haven't had much trouble at all. And my maintenance is take your blower brush, hold the camera down, put it in, blow, and pull out. You want to be sure not to hit the sensor and cost yourself about $1,000. And then what I do, turn the camera on, go to menu, and in setup 2, the yellow wrench box. Let's see if we get this on here. Setup 2, the yellow wrench box. Not sure if that's focusing there. Doesn't look like it. But we're in setup 2. It says cleaning mode. And what I'm going to do is simply push the middle button on the control wheel, roll it once to enter, and you hear the little vibration. When it's finished, you follow the instructions, turn it off, and I like to do it twice. Menu, menu, cleaning mode, enter, push the button, turn it off, and make sure that you've blown out the front cap. And that is my maintenance, and I've had very little trouble keeping the Sony sensor clean. Now another tip is to add cleaning mode to your My Menu so you don't have to go looking around for the various items. And when the big guy does come out, we will include all of the stuff that I have on my menu. I have 6 items on page 1 and 2 on page 2. Of course, you can personalize it, but it's great to keep cleaning mode on. And on page 2, you want to keep display from my menu at on. So every time you turn the camera off, turn it on, hit my menu, you'll hit menu, you'll come to your menu settings. And I go to my menu 1, which is where cleaning mode is. Camera on. I'll blow it first. Scroll down to cleaning mode. Hit enter. Turn the camera off, turn the camera on, hit menu. Cleaning mode, enter. Turn it off. And not a bad time to mention my pet peeve with Sony. And that is that when you review an image hitting the replay button, there's no way that I know of, neither do the Sony reps, to get the image to turn off after 2 or 5 or even 10 seconds. So I've missed a zillion great shots by picking up my lens and seeing the last picture that I took, that I reviewed. So they really need to fix that with the firmware update. Other than that, I'm loving my Sony stuff. Oh, I did want to show you one last little trick with the sensor scope. For those of you who buy one for your Nikon or Canon gear or own one, if you travel with it like this, with the battery in and the cover there, and you put it in your luggage and that button gets pressed, the light's going to come on and you're going to run your battery down. So what I do is I take the cover off, I take a little corner of cardboard, slip it between the metal contact and the battery, put this on. Now when I press it or press it accidentally, it's not going to turn on. Now when they first switch from the button that you held in to the button that clicks on and off, I called Martin Wood, the owner of Delkin. I use only Delkin flash cards. They're UHS 2 power flash cards are superb. Let's see again. There you go. I don't think they're focusing, but you get an idea of the colors. That's what I use in all my digital cameras. And as much as I love Martin and Martin Wood and the big tall guy who's so nice to me, I can't remember, he's left the company, I can't think of his name for the life of me. Anyway, when I told him that they needed to go back to the old design where you couldn't accidentally turn it on, he said, no, everybody likes it this way better. Whatever. Love you much, and have a great 2020. Make some great pictures. And remember to use the links. Think about an IPT. And enjoy the blog pretty much every other day. Lots of learning for free at www.birdsasart-blog.com. Cheers.